Hello everyone, and I hope that you all are keeping well at this period of global pandemic. I am Arya Milani, counseling psychologist and therapist, and today I am affiliated with Basal Mind to talk more about stress. In our last segment, we have completed what is stress, how an individual goes through stress, is it good or bad? And today we are going to learn what are the types of stress. Are you ready to know? Very good. So let us understand what are the types of stress. There are three types of stress mainly. Now, according to American Psychological Association, the main three fundamental types of stress are number one, acute stress, number two, episodic stress, and number three, which is called as the chronic stress. Now, all the three types of stress has their own physical characteristics. They have their own way of treatment plan and healing, and yes, of course, the duration of all the three types is different. So let us learn one by one. What happens in acute stress? Acute stress is a very brief and for a very small duration or period of time. We all go through this acute level of stress. Now, for example, if we have an argument with somebody, or maybe we have to complete our work in particular given period of time, then we have a stressful feeling that when we will do it and how we will complete it. So basically, acute stress is a stress when an individual is accompanied with reactive thinking. The person has a heightened level of negative thinking. For example, when we fight or we had an argument or we have a brawl with somebody, we always think about it. Like, why the person has something to me? Why the person has, done this to me? What happened? Why this happened? What is going on, right? There's a constant thinking going on. But yes, it is for a day or a two. Once you complete your work, once you complete your target, once you are done fighting with the other person, it just gets stopped. Once you switch off from that particular situation and go to another situation, the whole situation, the parameters, everything just get changed, and the acute stress just gets stopped over there. So we can say that it is for a very small, we can say that for a day or two or maybe 3 days, for a very small duration of time. So whenever an individual is going through the small acute, the word acute only defines it that it is for a very small period of time. When an individual goes through it, all these characteristics we can see in an individual. Now let's quickly move on to the second topic, which is episodic. Now, what happens in an episodic stress? An individual is constantly going through acute stress can be defined as to be going through episodic stress. Now, how can we understand that? For example, let's take the example that we have taken before. When an individual is having fight with a person, there is a constant negative thinking which is going on. But after coming out of that situation, still if your brain is going through the functioning and thinking about it and feeling bad or being depressed about it, always thinking she was a very good friend of mine, why this particular thing happened, and you have this strain within you, there's a constant evaluation going on, and whenever you ponder about it, the thinking starts. So it is that you are never able to come out through that acute stress. You are living in that acute stress, and every time it occurs one by one, then it becomes an episodic stress. It is continuous in nature. So what happens, this is actually a little longer than acute stress because it goes back, goes back, and it is in continuous process. For example, if your fight is done with a particular person, still you are agitated, angry, and you are constantly thinking about that particular situation, then it affects your well-being, right? So once a person is going through this episodic trauma, then they are called as going through episodic stress. Now let's quickly and swiftly move on to the third type of stress, stress which is actually very difficult and very traumatic, and if not cater, may turn out to be very miserable indeed. So what happens when an individual goes through some very heightened level of anxiety or stressful situation, for example childhood trauma, loss of some loved ones, or maybe a constant bad marriage and there's a fight going on, there's poor sort of interpersonal relationship issues with your partner, then there's a long period of process which is going on, right? And when you have the scar of your past, for example if there is any physical mental abuse that has happened in your life, then it is called as chronic stress, because the strain of that stress are so strong that they're not going to come back easily. It will be there for such a very big longer period of time. For example, if we have lost someone very dear or near, the pain, the stress, the anxiety will be there for around 6 months. So when an individual goes through such a long period of stress, then it is called as chronic stress. Also, a very important thing that we need to remember, that this stress also brings a lot of physical symptoms. Now what are they? There is a pull tendons, the muscles are stretched, your jaw is always tight, you will have back pain or headache all the time, or you're constantly living with that stress. When a person is not with us, you're constantly dreaming what will happen, how I will live, what I will do without the person, or maybe I don't have money, how will I will raise my kids, how I will be financially secure. This constant stress is going on and your body is not able to function in an optimal manner. Till now, we have understood that when an individual is going through stress, automatically the person can get back and come out of that stress. Even in episodic stress, the stress may come and go back, come and go back. But what happens here in chronic, it is actually persistent. It is living in an individual is actually living in that particular stress. So there is no way the person can come out. It is very stretched and long period of time. At that particular period, it is very important for an individual to take certain amount of therapy or have some medication to come out of stress, because your body cannot take stress for such a longer period of time. Because remember how we have talked about what are the physical symptoms like headache and all in our first segment. An individual goes through a lot of biological changes. So if an individual is stuck in that particular situation and is not able to come out of that situation, then it can be dangerous and that can deteriorate your mental health. So in this way, we have covered what are the types of stress: acute, chronic and episodic. To know further what are the physical symptoms and what are the clinical features and what are the coping mechanism of stress, please stay tuned with us and have a good day.